Hi, Homestead team. I'm Chaplain Robert Terrell, and this is your April 3rd, 2023 Monday Motivator. You ever have one of those weeks where, well, try as you might, you just end up getting busy with all of these things that you had not planned for? That was kind of my week. A lot of important things happened, but also a lot of little small things happened that kept me from being able to focus on the thing I really wanted to do. It reminds me of an old story about a teacher who was trying to teach her class about time management. She held up a mason jar and she asked what was in the mason jar. And the students said, "Nothing." And she said, "Well, this represents your day." Then she began to put large rocks in the jar until it was full to the brim with these large rocks. And she asked her students, "Is there any more space available in the jar?" And the students shouted, "No." But then she took some small pebbles and she poured those in, and they went in between the large rocks and appeared to fill up the mason jar. And she asked the students, "Is there any more space available?" And they said, "No." But then she took some sand and she poured the sand into the jar, and it filled up the space in between the small stones. By now, the students had begun to catch on. And she asked them, "Is there any more space?" And they shouted, "Yes." And then she took some water and she poured the water up, and it filled the mason jar to the brim. Now there were large stones, small pebbles, sand, and water in the jar. And she asked her students, "Is there any more space?" And the students shouted, "No." So she asked her students, "What's the lesson of the mason jar?" And her students said, "There's always more room." And she shook her head and she said, "No. If I hadn't have put the large stones in first, the entire jar would have been filled up with all the smaller things." And the same is true with your day. You have to do the important things first. Otherwise, they get filled up with lots of smaller things. I don't know about you, but that's so true in my life. If I focus on the important things and I do them first, that's a good thing. But when I don't, well, lots of smaller things end up taking over my day. Sometimes those are really good things, but they're not the important things to me. What's most important to you? How is it that you make sure your day reflects that? How do you make sure that your week reflects that? How do you make sure that you're doing the things that are most important to you? I'd love to hear that. And maybe you need some time management skills. You can call me at any time. I would gladly help with that. I would love to hear what's most important to you and how together we can figure out ways for you to be able to do the most important things. To do the old saying, to keep the first things first. For so many of our team, this is a special week because it's Holy Week. And if it's important to you, I hope you have an absolutely wonderful week. But regardless of your faith perspective, this is what I hope you remember. Our CEO, God, cares for you, and so do I. Have an absolutely amazing week. Make sure you find time for the important things.